People living in third world countries, what is something that is a part of your everyday life that people in first world countries would not understand / cope with? Egypt here. Crossing the street is some kind of sick sport here. I studied abroad in Cairo, and by the third month I was playing Frogger on the Nile Corniche without thinking. If my mom saw me cross the street like that, she'd have a heart attack. When I visited Cairo, that is exactly how I was taught to cross the roads. I always carry 2 cell phones with me. One is my real cell phone. I hide it in my backpack. If I don't carry the backpack, then in one of my socks. Lol. I carry the other cell phone in my pocket. It is useless. It broke 5 years ago and has no repair. If someone tried to rob me, I would give them the fake cell phone. I learned this trick from a friend. A gang member tried to rob him. He told him to give him his cell phone. So he took out his fake cell phone and threw it as far as he could. The gang member went after the cell phone and my friend used that moment to run. The gang member realized what was happening, but it was too late. My friend managed to get to a store with security guards where they helped him and called the police. Sorry for my bad English. Having to stand for hours in bread lines, then for hours at the petrol lines, then for hours at the cooking gas lines, then coming back home to find that they shut off the electricity because there's too much load. I feel you, my fellow Sudanese, lol. One aspect of living in a first world country is that it's normal for things to work. In third world countries, it's the opposite. Technology, roads, institutions. There is a tacit assumption that none of these things work the way they are supposed to, and that's just the way it is. When you live in the third world, your roads are full of potholes, your lights go out every week, if not every day, everything is on the fritz and politicians are incredibly corrupt. And yes, I know that there's corruption in Europe and the US as well, but it's not like our corruption. Example, in the summer of 2016 I took a trip to Germany and I was at the Hamburg train station waiting for the 6:50 train to Bremen. At 6:45 the train station attendant announced that the 6:50 train was cancelled, but that there was another at 7:05 and that the train company would be happy to exchange everyone's tickets at no cost. There would be, at most, a half-hour delay. People were flipping the fuck out. A girl called her parents in tears. A couple threatened to sue or kill or maim the train station attendant. My German isn't great and neither is my irate German. It was like someone had declared WW3 over a half-hour train delay. In my country, on the other hand, there are no half-hour train delays because there are no trains. Shit, I wish we had trains. I don't live there anymore, but I used to live in Guatemala. Here's a list of some of the differences I remember. Every house I lived in was inside a gated community. This was the case for many homes in the city of Antigua, where I lived. Each community was like 4 to 10 houses surrounded by concrete walls and barbed wire on top. Some had a guard manning the gate. You could not drink tap water. We had a 5-gallon water filter in our house that we filled with tap water. After a few hours, it broke filtered enough water for us to drink. We could not flush toilet paper. The pipes were too small. It had to be thrown away or the toilet would be messed up. Lots of stray dogs. Once we saw a rat running down the hall and the nicest hospital in the area. The grocery store we went to has organization. That made no sense. Toothpaste would be put with the canned goods. No fancy aisles. Instead of scanning barcodes, the employees would manually enter each item you purchased. No plastic bags, just cardboard boxes. Earthquakes and power outages were both super common. At night, people loved to light firecrackers in the street for no reason. These things were powerful and had crazy amounts of gunpowder. You could pay people to watch your car if you parked it on the street to keep it from being broken into. There were no traffic lights in this city. You just kinda guessed what other people were doing. The bananas were amazing there though. The open air market was one of the best things about living there. Bananas in the US, where I moved back, to taste like wax in comparison. /edit. Forgot we had to take a deworming medicine twice a year that tasted nasty. Despite these precautions, one of my family members still has gut issues to this day and my gluten tolerance has also been somewhat screwed over, although thankfully not too much. Also, most windows didn't have screens, even though mosquitoes were a problem. 2.4 mega internet speed is like the fastest internet connection in Venezuela. I'll start. In my country, the government switches off all electricity for 2 to 3 hours at a time, several times a day, to reduce load on the power systems. As I'm busy typing this, I'm sitting by candlelight in complete darkness. Edit. I've been waiting to be able to make this edit on a post, but thank you. My first awards. Looks like there does come something good from load shedding. If you're shot in my country, the patient must produce a police report before any doctor can touch you, regardless of your current state. I know the people in this thread are toning it down, but personally I find living in a third world country unbearable now that I've moved to the States. I moved to maybe 20 of them while I was a kid in Africa, and some are better than others, but now it's not good. The corruption is serious, like I don't think people get how serious it is. Cops ask for bribes constantly, security is armed to the teeth, and at the complete mercy of whoever hired them. The government has complete control. Food, water, and electricity are not guarantees. You have to hustle to get internet in some places. Your house is super protected because people try to break in. You see people starving to death, thirsty, going mad sick, clearly maimed people begging on the street. Kids hearing that people they know are dead is a regular occurrence. You may even see someone that died on the road. That's just in an average place. In the really bad places I've met mercenaries, people that have killed, women fleeing traffickers, autistic and mentally ill children that were cast from society for being different. Hell, slavery was legal one place I lived until 2007. All of this was seen before I turned 17. This is also ignoring the social problems that rampantly exist in those societies due to colonization and the West being perceived as better. You frequently meet people with such potential that have been beaten down by their society. To function in those societies, you have to consciously ignore the horrible things you are seeing and experiencing. It made me extremely strong mentally compared to most people I meet in the States, but I couldn't remain blind to what I was seeing. Chose to go to college somewhere else. Whenever I go home I freak out, because the problems are huge. I can't focus on the positives. Here in the Philippines, our healthcare system is so fucking shitty compared to the ones abroad. Traffic is way worse here, since there are smaller vehicles trying to pass through tiny spaces on the road. Someone already died because of the traffic. The ambulance couldn't get through. It's hard to earn money here, especially since it's quite hard to have multiple jobs here unless it's online. Foreigners love living here since it's cheap. Well, that's because they earn good money abroad. Try working here, not as influencer or what, then try living here. I swear it isn't as great as you think it is. It's hard to get refunds and other compensation here, unlike in the US where when the customer demands for something, they actually get it. Going out with a knife in your pocket if you're gonna walk alone when it's dark. At least me being a woman that left Argentina just 10 months ago, that's how I dealt with any fear that I had when I had to go out or come back at night. Left it there because I wasn't sure if it was allowed on the plain law. My best friend from college worked in Nigeria for 5 years for a major oil company. His realization that he wasn't in the US anymore was his first day in his Lagos office. He was working and looked out his window at the bank across the street. The bank was surrounded by a high wall and had a single gate for an entrance. Some guys took a speedboat up the adjacent canal, jumped out with AK-47s, and went to rob the bank. The bank gate was quickly shut, and the robbers then tried to climb the gate. They didn't realize that there was a sandbagged machine gun nest on top of the bank. The first robber to stick his head over the gate top had his head removed with machine gun fire. The other robbers jumped down and ran to their boat and then sped off to the delta. My friend sent me a photo of the guy that afternoon. His head had exploded and his brains were running down the dirt street towards the canal. He later got involved in the Boy Scout troop for the expat kids. They drove to the beach one Friday night in a convoy. The lead and tail vehicles were proper alphas, gun trucks, with the security. When they camped on the beach, the guards dug gun pits around their perimeter. Here in Mexico, whenever I go on a trip with family, we leave the lights on and at least one television on so that we can trick robbers into thinking we are in the house. We also make sure no one looks at us while we are packing luggage in the car.